Hi, Heather.
Hey Mike, how you doing?
Good and yourself?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Hi, audience. Thanks to everyone who arrived early.
Yeah, I love it when we get here and we already have like questions and everything to start off with. I love how eager everyone is.
Yes, and as promised, we always give priority to people who ask their questions before we start or really early. Um, and we have some Wizard of Vegas questions too. And plus, I apologize that we postponed this twice, but um, but yeah, here we are back again.
Yeah, and just one quick note on what Mike said. The earlier you get your questions in, the more likely it is that we'll answer it. If
Mhm,
your questions are much later in the show, we might not get to it.
mhm.
So, you ready
Okay,
for this, Mike?
what was that?
You ready?
Okay, well, let me tell you a little about my trip to Sedona, which was one of
Oh,
the reasons we had to postpone the show.
okay.
So, a couple weeks ago, we took a family trip to Sedona, which, for those who don't know, it's in northern Arizona, and it's an area with lots of interesting rock formations. And they shot a lot of Western movies there because it's very scenic and looks very Westerny. Um, Today, it's kind of a new age hotspot with lots of tarot cards and vortexes and crystals and stuff like that.
Did
So,
you did you have your fortune read to you?
not this time. I've had it read to me several times before, just for entertainment reasons. Um, and unfortunately, we were there during spring break week, so the whole place was inundated with families with young kids, which nevertheless, we made the best of it. But here's a couple pieces of advice about Sedona. If you go there, once you get to your hotel, I would not like, if you're going to someplace like in the center of the city, just walk. There's also a trolley, but it wasn't running when we were there, probably because of the coronavirus. But yeah, just walk. It'll be good for you. And parking there is difficult, and the traffic is kind of bad. And okay, the most popular hike is called Devil's Bridge, which is a natural bridge that you can walk over. And the
That
hike
sounds
to
sort of
this was
scary.
really disappointing. Did you say something, Heather?
I said, that sounds really scary. It was disappointing.
Yeah, it's disappointing because everybody knows it's like the most popular hike. So everybody's doing it. Probably two-thirds of the hike is along a dirt road that is accessible by four-wheel drive vehicles and ATVs, which do avail themselves of it. So you're having to deal with a lot of Jeep and ATV traffic kicking up dust. Um, and when you finally get there, first of all, you have to go up. When you get close to it, you do start to get on a trail, but it's kind of like the what's it called, the Angel's Landing Trail at Zion. It's steep and it's crowded, and you have to take turns going over certain spots. And then once you finally get to the end of it, I was kind of surprised to see this, is there's a huge line. And I asked the guy at the end of it, I said, what is this a line for? And he explained to me that people like to have their picture taken on the bridge by themselves. And he said that people like take turns, having the whole bridge for themselves for a minute to do pictures. And I have very little patience for standing in lines. So I basically never even saw the bridge. You don't like get good views of it, like hiking up close to it, because it's always blocked by trees. And so, yeah, that was really disappointing. So if you go to Sedona, I would either go when it's not crowded, or if it is crowded and you really want to see that, I would leave really early in the morning. I mean, maybe even with it when it's dark and with flashlights, just to beat the crowds.
What time did you guys
And by the
arrive?
way, I was told, I don't remember if I said this, but I'm told the wait to get your picture taken is about an hour. Um, and yeah, we probably started on the trail maybe around 10 a.m. And that's another issue with it, is parking is really difficult there. Like, the parking lot is only so big, and you're not going to find a parking space there unless you leave really early. So you got to park along the road, and who knows how far away you'll have to park. So yeah, that was pretty disappointing. But Sedona is full of hikes, and I think you could almost just, point your finger on a map randomly and just do any random hike instead.
Is there a hike that you're looking forward to doing next?
That's a good question. This summer, I really want to go back to Colorado and do more 14ers. And but nothing in particular. I will say that I did a hike just yesterday that has been on my list for a long time. This is Bridge Point. It's a very prominent peak in Red Rock, and it's a very difficult one. And, for years, I've always heard that, it's a tough, very exposed hike. It's much harder than Bridge Mountain, which I've done many times. But finally, I had the opportunity to do it with the 52 Peak Club, and I did. So I'm pretty proud of myself. And yeah.
Woo. Awesome. Very, very cool. Now, is there anything as far as like vacations go that you want to share as far as stories or something, or do you want to go straight into the questions, or do you have trivia?
Oh, let's just go straight to the questions. I was thinking about doing Ramadan trivia, but it's been so long since we had a show and we have so many questions. Let's just get right into it.
That sounds good. I like that.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll just start with the questions before the show.
Okay.
And go ahead.
Do you want to do the forum or the peanut gallery?
Peanut gallery.
Okay. Here we go.
So I'll summarize them myself, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Okay, so Oregon guy says, Oregon has new online slot machines that are powered by past horse races. Can you explain how this works and whether this is something to avoid? So I'm sorry, this is the first I've heard of it. So I'll look into that, but I've got nothing on that at this time. Okay, Techniques asks, are electronic table games, blackjack, bubble craps more likely to have less variance than true probability than an actual table game? They're the same. At least in Nevada, any video representation of dice or cards must have the natural odds as if it were played with real dice or cards. So the rules are the same. Okay, and plus the outcomes. So okay, all right. Philip, no, he has another one. Okay, he says that I said that the electronic blackjack games with the big video screen with usually a female dealer is dealing is still the best game. Those generally do have better rules than the live dealers. Many of the live games now pay 6 to 5 on a blackjack unless you're willing to bet $25 or more. And I know that I was just playing at the Red Rock. I was playing stadium gaming at the Red Rock just 2 days ago, and they paid 3 to 2 on a blackjack, and the minimum bet was only $3. So, I would say that if you're betting less than $25 a hand at most places, you're going to get better rules on an electronic game. Okay, moving right along, and I know I'm going fast. Okay, Philip D. Garado asks about the Muggsy's Corner side bet at the Gold Coast. And Heather had something to do with that. Do you want to talk about that, Heather?
Sure. So Muggsy's Corner is one of our clients, and we had a big grand opening in October of last year at the Gold Coast. And for the grand opening, we had showgirls at the tables, and they were giving away swag and taking pictures, and it was just really, really fun and awesome. And for anyone who is interested, check out those games. They're really, really interesting, especially 2Gs with its 350 to 1 jackpot payout. But I could probably keep going on and on. So how about you, Mike? What do you have to say?
Okay, so I analyzed this a while ago. Muggsy's Corner is indeed a crap side bet, and it pays 2 to 1 if the come out roll is a 7, and it pays 3 to 1 on what is normally a bad thing to do, is rolling a point and then a 7. So another way to put it is that it wins if You get a 7 within the first 2 rolls after a come out roll.
So it's like you have 2 chances to win, basically.
Yeah. So when you do all the math, the house edge is 5.56%, which for a side bet is not bad.
It's pretty good if you compare it to all of the proposition bets, which are crazy at like 9% and higher.
Yeah, it's better than the hard ways. It's better than all the hop bets.
Yep.
Everything in the middle of the table.
Definitely not a sucker's bet for sure.
But I do have to add that there are better bets too. So it's, in the whole spectrum of craps, it falls somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, but there are a lot of bets on craps though.
Yes. Okay, so I know his next question, which you already brought up, is a roulette side bet called 2Gs. And this one pays, correct me if I'm wrong, if the 2 spins after the bet is made are both a 0 or double 0, and if it wins, it pays 350 to 1.
Yep.
Okay, so that has a low house advantage of 2.77%, which is actually better than any other bet in double 0 roulette at 5.26%.
Yep, definitely.
So 350 to 1, that's going to be your best bet on the table.
I heard that it hits about 2 to 3 times per day too. So there is definitely a chance of winning if you're a player.
Well, let's see. So the probability of winning is...
Keep doing the math. I love this.
Well, I'm looking at my site, to be honest with you. 0.0077.
While you're doing that, real quick, 2Gs also has a version for single 0 roulette. So it's not just double 0. Single 0 would work as well. And the house edge for that goes down to 1.31%.
Okay, so the probability of winning is 1 in 361.
Ooh, do that again and I'll make you bigger. Nice.
On my good old HP 15C.
I love it.
Anyone who has this calculator, the greatest calculator ever, is immediately my friend. Okay, let's keep going here.
Okay.
Ronaldo W. Asks, Earth has not anything to show more fair. Dull would you could pass by a slight. I don't understand that one. Okay, I of 2000 asks.
Wait a minute. What do you love, Mike?
I'm telling the questioner's name. Okay. I was asked for my social security number while cashing out below 10,000. Do I need to give it to them? What happens if I refuse? Okay. They will ask you if you make a cash transaction of 10,000 or more. I think the reason they asked you under 10,000 is there's also a rule against what's called structuring. So let's say that you wanted to cash out 12,000 in chips. It would violate, shall we say, the spirit of the $10,000 rule if you cashed out 6 and then came back later in the same day and cashed out the other 6. So the casinos are obligated to try to catch people what are called structuring by breaking up a withdrawal into smaller transactions. And the way they might do this is ask for your social security number if the amount is close to 10,000. And I think that they're allowed to ask. I think if you decline, they might say that they are required to ask. And what can I say? Most places will not ask if it's under 10,000. If you really don't want to give it out, what you might want to do is just come back later with a smaller amount and, see if that flies under their radar.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. You have some compliments here, Heather, on your Princess Leia hair.
Thank you. Just so you know, though, it's not Princess Leia. I am Star Trek, not Star Wars. Mike, however, is Star Wars.
Heather does not like Star Wars.
And Mike is not a Trekkie.
Yeah, it's not that I dislike Star Trek. I just never really got into it. Okay.
What are we doing?
Okay, so somebody asks, Paul Andrews asks, how did I spend my free play at the Longhorn a few weeks ago? So I had about $11,000 in free play there, and I ran it all through in video poker. That's how I did it. Paul Andrews also asked, do you think slot YouTubers are given money to play by the casino for publicity? I don't think they make enough from YouTube to carry their gambling habit. No, I'm quite sure the casino does not give them money. I think that they do it for the YouTube money, and YouTube generally pays about a half a cent to 1 cent per view. So I think that's what their motive is. And by the way, I may be making similar videos, but playing table games. I'm trying to work out a deal with one of the Vegas casinos to do that.
Cool.
Okay, moving along quite quickly here. Rodney Anderson asks, I've noticed that many casinos have reduced the number of carnival games on the floor. Do you think that this is a planned phase out, or is it just a reflection of the diminished interest in carnival games? Yeah, I've noticed that too. I went to the new Virgin here in Las Vegas. The casino is actually a Mohegan Sun casino, but the hotel is the Virgin. And they had hardly any so-called carnival games. They had I think they had a face-up Pai Gow poker and one free bet blackjack. But there was no 3-card poker, no ultimate Texas Hold'em, Let It Ride, Mississippi Stud, hardly anything.
Like when you say no, are you talking about like they're closed, or are you talking about like they're not even on the floor?
Not even on the floor. And okay, in general, during COVID, casinos removed a lot of table games. I would say that probably 1/3 of table games were just removed. I think the casinos may have found it a good excuse to get rid of more tables. I think any big Vegas casino will tell you they make more money per square foot with slots than with table games. And you know, labor is expensive, and slots are so nice and simple. Whereas I think that there's a lot of headaches with table games. But you know, have they disproportionately gotten rid of carnival games? I haven't really thought about it. I tend to think that they have, but why? You know, I'm not sure. They probably don't like writing those checks to the makers of the games, and Vegas has been, you know, obviously kind of hurt economically for the last year. And I think that they are looking to cut expenses any way they can. Okay, so moving right along. Michael Baia asks, is there any way these scammers online who sell systems and strategies to casino games can be stopped? Reported, it saddens me that people fall for this. Can anything really be done about this? You know, legally not. They're not breaking any law. However, I am trying to do what I can to stop it. I have videos that go through betting systems, and I show that not only can they not overcome the house advantage, they can't even dent it. And I recently did one for a paid system called the Kiefer Roulette system. And again, I show there that it just doesn't work. So I've said this before, but I invite the whole world that if you have paid for a betting system and you've been let down by it, and perhaps you asked for a refund and they said no, please send it to me and let me debunk it. You know, I will show that it's worthless, and I could use more systems to make more videos on. So yes, if you have any kind of a system, please send it to me. I need more.
Yeah, and I completely agree with the viewer on this. It's so sad and disheartening when people fall for these scams and pay all this money for nothing.
Yep. So yeah, that's all I can say on that. Okay, Techniques asks, I've been told that slot games with higher minimums give better payout. If true, does hold for making larger bets for electronic blackjack? Okay, as a rule of thumb, the slot machines that are at a higher denomination are set to a higher expected return. With table games, with blackjack, if you go into the high limit room, you're likely to find better rules for blackjack and roulette. For example, that might be the only place where the dealer stands on a soft 17 and has single zero roulette. So in general, yeah, and it's true that if you bet more, you'll get better rules in blackjack and roulette, but not necessarily. So know what the good rules are and shop around. And okay, so I am caught up with peanut gallery questions.
Woo! You just sped through all of them.
Yep. So how about we go to the Wizard of Vegas now and address some questions there?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay. Okay, let's start with where the last show left off. Okay. Joe Dahl asks about something called the Comp Killer Roulette System, and he provided a YouTube link to this so-called system. And this is not really a system. This is making a combination of certain corner bets and straight up bets in roulette. And the idea being that it covers most of the numbers on the table. And the idea being that most of the time you're either going to have a small win or a big loss, and it's kind of a low risk way of earning comps. And I just addressed this one in my Ask the Wizard column, which I just published just before this live stream. But here's the bottom line. Okay, so you make a $5 bet, $5 straight up bet on 5 different numbers. You make 6 different corner bets, each of which covers 4 numbers. So you're going to have 29 winning numbers and 9 losing numbers. If you, and I don't remember if I said this, but the straight up bets are $5 and the corner bets are $25. And so if you win a straight up bet, your net profit is going to be $5. If you win a corner bet, your profit is going to be $50. If anything else happens, you're going to lose $175. So there's a 13% chance of winning 5, a 63% chance of winning 50, and a 24% chance of losing 175. And of course, when you average it all out, the house edge is 5.26%, as it is in any combination of bets in double zero roulette. Okay, moving right along. So if you want more information on that, see my latest Ask the Wizard column, number 342.
How many Ask the Wizard columns do you have? 342 total?
342.
Wow. Oh my God, that's a lot.
I've been writing that column for 20 years.
How many questions is that? Like what, over 1,000? Minimum?
I used to start out by answering about 10, but it's gone down to probably an average of 4. So I would say I've answered probably about 1,500 questions.
Wow.
Okay, so then there's just more discussion here about the key for roulette. I mean the comp killer betting strategy.
So what is the comp killer strategy exactly for people who are watching who don't know?
It's what I just said. It's the strategy where you bet $5 on 1, 16, 24, 28, and 33. And then you make 6 specific corner bets. And I indicate exactly where to put them. and Ask the Wizard column number 342.
Cool.
So that is the comp killer betting strategy. Okay, Gilmer asks, as a Gilligan's Island fan, did you ever watch the show Dusty's Trail? No, I never got into that. I've heard of it, though.
Are you going to? Because you could still watch episodes.
Oh, I just don't have the time.
What was the last episode you binge watched that you really enjoyed?
Right now, I'm going through a new show called The Flight Attendant.
Okay.
But I generally don't binge shows. I usually limit myself to one a day. But I really like the show Cobra Kai, the sequel to The Karate Kid. I got through those pretty quickly, just because I liked it so much. Okay.
Those were good.
What was that?
I said, yeah, those were good.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Duckies asks, if the house advantage is so high on table game side bets, like Pie Gal, why don't most casinos allow gamblers to play just the bonus? Well, I don't think they get many requests for that, but I think if a player said, I want to just play the bonus and I'll bet $25 a time, I think that most casinos would probably allow it. But like I said, that's not the way most players play. So, I don't think they get that request very often. Okay, Smooth Graph asks, he comments about how he likes Vegas videos like The Slot Lady, and then he recommends one from a channel called Pompsy. And I looked at one of these before the show, and it's a young guy and his girlfriend that make Vegas videos. And in the one that I watched, they reviewed the Casino Royale, and they're pretty good. He makes very nice videos, very well done, pretty entertaining and grabbing. Anyway, Smooth Graph asks, what would it take for me to make such videos? For one thing, my video editing skills only go so far, and it's not that I couldn't improve upon them, but I just don't feel it's my calling to make, flashy, grabby YouTube videos. And, I prefer to do what I know, which is math. It doesn't mean I'm not going to make more videos, but it's not what I prefer to spend my time on. And the videos that I have made, for whatever reason, don't do spectacular on YouTube. So I'm not, shall we say, that motivated to crank them out like crazy. Okay, Odious Gambit asks, should you carefully read the terms and conditions when dealing with online gambling? I will admit that in general, I'm really lazy about reading terms and conditions. I, click agree all the time without reading them. And with online casinos, most of them are going to have a really long page of terms and conditions, and in all of them, it will say we reserve all rights and management decision is final, and ultimately we can do whatever we want. And I've heard so many stories of players catching casinos not abiding by their own terms and conditions, especially sportsbooks. Like there might be a proposition bet that they just simply grade wrong. And the player will say, look, here is how you grade. You say you will grade bets when this happens. And they will just come back and say, the manager has decided to grade this bet as a loser, and we're not going to discuss it anymore. And they just don't say why, and they do not care about their own terms and conditions. So it's not that I'm against reading them, but I don't think that, shall we say, the casino is going to honor them anyway.
If you sign enough terms and conditions without reading it, eventually the devil's going to own your soul in one of them.
He probably owns mine multiple times over. Um, but what can I say? I will say that if you do a bonus, carefully read the bonus rules, because those will also be pretty long and complicated, and there will be lists of excluded games and maximum bets, and the casinos love to catch you on any violation. And if they do, they will seize any money that you might have won. So it is really important to abide by the rules and conditions of a bonus. And that's something where I definitely recommend reading them carefully.
Good advice.
Okay, so I think that's about all I can say on that. And wow, I think I am all caught up.
Well, we got a couple more questions from the peanut gallery if you want to go back there.
Yes.
Fantastic. Do you want to ask or do you want me to?
You can.
Oh, okay. Yay, I can. Cool. Okay, so let's do. Ooh, I don't know if the first question should be for me, though. Let's do another one. James says, was told in software class that you need an external signal like the noise from a radio to program a truly random number. Do online casinos use random number generators? And if so, are they truly random?
Yeah, it's a good question. They absolutely use random number generators. I mean, how else could they determine what cards you get or how the dice fall? Ultimately, these things are determined by random numbers. And to get a random number, you need a random number generator. And random number generators today are really very good. And you don't need what's called white noise to seed them to get a good one. So I highly doubt that the internet casinos are going to this extra, what I would call an unnecessary step of grabbing white noise. Random numbers can be drawn just fine without that step. Yeah, so.
Now, are random number generators, are they required by the Gaming Control Board in some locations?
They can't be helped with any electronic game, like
Okay.
any slot machine, any a digital representation of anything has to use random number generators. There is no other way to obtain a random outcome.
Okay. Okay. So our next question comes from Bert. Do dealers prefer cash tips or bets? And I'm asking about craps specifically.
Take it away, Heather.
It depends on the dealer, so you would have to ask. Some dealers, well, here's the thing about asking. Casinos tell dealers that if a player asks, they have to say that they want the cash tip, that they don't want to bet. But typically you would ask your dealer and the dealer would tell you, yeah, I want you to play it, or yeah, I just want the bet and I don't want you to play it. But the casino does recommend them to say that they just want the cash bet and they don't want to play it. However, there are plenty of dealers who really enjoy the gambling aspect of it. So they'll just tell you to play it because that's more fun for them, because then they're gambling with you. So again, it's a personal choice and you have to ask the dealer.
Okay, I've noticed in craps, sometimes when a player will make like a two-way yo bet for them or any tip on one of the sucker bets, the dealers will request that they make the tip on the pass line instead, which I would do too. And the reason I think they do that is that there's often a separate tips pool for craps, and the craps dealers know what a high house edge the sucker bets have. So they can kind of feel money being taken out of their pocket when that tip is put on one of the sucker bets. Whereas on the main casino floor, the tip pool is divided by so many ways that any one dealer doesn't really care.
Yep. And Bert says, thank you for those answers.
You're welcome.
So our next one is a fun one. Since you are a Star Wars fan, how do you like The Mandalorian season 1 and 2?
Heather?
You haven't watched it?
I'm sorry. He said Star Wars fan. I don't claim to be a Star Wars fan. In fact, I would say that I quit watching Star Wars movies after what was it called? The ones, the one where Han Solo and Luke Skywalker had that duel on that volcano planet. And I mean, Anakin Skywalker, and then he became Darth Vader. After that, I didn't like them anymore. So yeah.
Do you think you're going to watch The Mandalorian? Do you know about Baby Yoda? That's the most important question.
I've heard about him, but if true science fiction fans tell me that they're good, I'll watch them.
I'm not a Star Wars fan. Like I said before, Star Trek all the way, but even I have my own Baby Yoda song. Like, I can't believe you're not into Baby Yoda.
Does it go like the Baby Shark song?
Yes, it's the Baby Shark song.
Don't sing it. Don't sing it.
But it's basically the Baby Shark song, but Baby Yoda. There you go.
Don't start, or I won't be able to get it out of my head.
Okay, so our next question is, what is the best game to get comps? And Bubble Crafts, do you think Bubble Crafts is a good one?
Well, at least with Bubble Crafts, you can put in a player card and you can probably find out how many points it accrues. Some of the Bubble Crap games do not have a slot for player cards, or because the house advantage can get quite low. So with that, yeah, just check your own casino, like how quickly does it accrue points and what is the value of a point. But in terms of table games, it gets much more complicated. I will say that video poker tends to be a pretty good comping game, even though they tend to earn fewer points per dollar bet than slots. A good video poker game with a good pay table and paid properly can be a good way to get comped at a low cost. If talking about table games, again, the higher the house advantage, the more comps you'll get per dollar bet. But then again, the more you're going to lose per dollar bet. But, at the end of the day, I wouldn't make your decision on what game to play very much based on comps. I think that I think you should play what you like and what has a low house advantage, and just consider the comps kind of the icing on the cake.
Okay. And speaking of comps, have you noticed any changes with comps since COVID started?
I have played so little since it started. The word on the street is casinos are being more generous, but I can't personally affirm or deny that.
Okay. Okay, so do you care about the White Sox? Should I just move on, or do you care about like home runs on the White Sox?
Not really.
Okay. So have you taken a look at and I'm probably going to totally butcher that, Karshik progression system for Baccarat, and have you done any testing on it?
No, I'm going to write that down because, as I just said earlier, I'm looking for betting systems to debunk.
Perfect. So if you guys have any more, put them in the chat, and Mike will write those down too. We'll add it to the list.
Okay, and if this is a paid system, feel free to tell me how it works. I am not against revealing the secret of how a paid betting system works.
Yep. And our next question comes from Quest. I have seen multiple denomination slot machines with progressive amounts that stay the same regardless of denomination selected. Are the progressive odds the same regardless of denomination, or are they less likely at smaller denominations?
They should be less likely at smaller denominations. I have a side business of designing slot machines, and that's how I do it. I make it so that the probability of hitting the jackpot is proportional to the amount that you bet. And it may not appear that way to the player. It may appear that it's like a spinning wheel, and where it stops is where it stops. But no, it's controlled, where the probability of it stopping on the jackpot slice is proportional to how much you bet.
Okay. So
That's only fair.
is that determined when you hit the button, or is that determined when it stops?
How they would do that is beyond what I'm concerned with. Now, I will say that in general, the slot machines like to delay determining the outcome until the very last moment. And I know more about video poker. So in video poker, like let's say that you get dealt 4 to a royal. A lot of people ask, is your card on the draw predetermined, or does it matter the exact moment you hit the button? And the answer is the latter. The exact moment that you hit that button determines what card you get. And the reason they do that way is it's just good programming to wait and to wait until the last possible second. So it's harder to hack the game. And what the game is doing is it's constantly drawing random numbers, perhaps probably thousands per second. And at that exact moment you press draw, it's going to take the last random number generated and map that to a playing card that's still in the deck, and that's what you're going to get.
Cool. I always love knowing how that stuff works. Awesome.
Yep. Okay.
Well, we ran out of questions for the peanut gallery. Do you have any more questions from the forum?
No, but let me ask some Ramadan questions then.
Oh, cool.
So for those of you who don't know, Ramadan is the Islamic holy month, and this year it starts this Monday. So the first question will be, okay, I already said that it starts this Monday, but what exactly determines when exactly does it start? So, so this year it starts on April 12th, but it's not always April 12th. So
it's like the Lunar New Year.
Yeah, it's based on the phases of the moon. So in the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, at the first day of the crescent moon is when it starts, and then it ends on the subsequent crescent moon. So you got that one, Heather. You didn't even give the audience a chance. So that's sorry. All right. Okay, let's go on to the next one.
Sorry, audience.
Okay, so fasting is a major thing in Ramadan, but most people are not. It would be unreasonable to ask people to fast for an entire month. So basically, what are the fasting rules, and when are you supposed to fast in particular during Ramadan?
Okay, so if you guys know the answer to that, put it in the chat. And we have a question for you while we're waiting for everyone to respond. So Rodney asked, with more states legalizing online sports betting, do you think Vegas sports books will decrease in size or change their menu of bets that they offer? And by the way, thank you for all these AMAs, and he is a huge fan. Huge fan.
You're welcome. I haven't noticed any difference in the sports books here, to be honest with you. I think that legalized sports betting elsewhere probably has not significantly helped nor hurt Vegas. So it seems like the same old bets that I've always seen. It would be nice if the sports books got a little bit more competitive and started offering more exotic bets that would give me something to analyze. But yeah, so far it looks like the same old stuff.
Do you think in the future that's going to change, or do you think it's going to continue down that path?
Oh, I'm not big on predicting the future, but I think it's going to be slow to change.
I'm going to get you a crystal ball for your birthday so you could make predictions.
Well, I don't think the crystal ball would help, but I think a crystal ball would look really cool.
You're right. I need to get you tarot cards too.
Sure. I love the art on tarot cards.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, I've had my fortune read several times just for entertainment reasons.
It should be for entertainment reasons only, just like gambling.
Yep.
Entertainment only.
Yep.
So
So,
on that note, we have
mhm,
a couple of answers for our trivia.
mhm.
Tom H says fasting while the sun is up. Is that correct?
That's right. Sunrise to
Woo.
sunset.
Oh, he says while the sun is up.
That's the same thing.
Okay, cool. Tom, yes, congrats.
Tom H, good job. Okay,
Yay.
here's your next Ramadan question. Traditionally, what is the first thing someone would eat after breaking the fast? In other words, after the sunset?
So if you guys know the answer, put it in the chat. And until then, Bert has our next question. With all of the knowledge that you have over the years, and you know how games work and how they play, do you still enjoy going and playing casino games?
You know, not really. I mean, I said earlier in the show that I've hardly played at all since COVID, and the casinos were only closed for 3 months of it. But to be perfectly honest with you, I just don't find the joy in gambling that I used to. I love analyzing gambling and better, but how often do I actually go to the casinos and play? It's really not much. The only significant playing I've done was that Longhorn promotion about a month ago that I commented on earlier. So I really need either a good advantage or say a good friend is from out of town and just wants to play.
Sounds good. Do they have to drag you to the casino?
They might, if depends how good the friend is and what they want to play. For example, a friend of mine has had a family member in town, and he really wanted to play. So I played some blackjack with him for a little bit.
That's cool. And it must be just like going to work. It's not, entertainment. It's not fun. It's like going to work, and then your brain isn't thinking about, oh, let's have fun and let's, or whatever, let's, make money or whatever. You're thinking all the math, the statistics, you're thinking of all the work and everything. It's probably exhausting.
Yeah, it's not so much that I think I'm working right now, but it's like, why am I playing? This just isn't fun for me anymore. And when I first moved here, I enjoyed it, and I was playing a lot. But yeah, to me, just the fun of it, for whatever reason, kind of went away.
Makes sense. Okay, so let's see if anyone has the answer to our trivia question. So is it break the fast with breaking bread?
Nope.
No. Okay. And that is all of the answers we had for that trivia question.
Okay. The answer is 3 dates.
3 dates.
Yep.
Okay. Could they be like coconut date rolls? Would that count?
I don't think so. It probably should be 3 natural dates, like right from the tree.
Okay. Oh, wow. Right from the tree.
Yeah, just it's a fresh date and no fancy stuff.
So no grocery store dates.
Well, I suppose if it was, I don't want to speak to the fine points of dates, but it would seem to me that Mohammed or whoever probably had some nice natural dates and not something with a lot of preservatives in it. So you would want to do as he did and keep it as natural and simple as possible.
Sounds good. Do you have another trivia question?
Okay, so let's say, and I think this has happened, so on the International Space Station makes an orbit around the Earth 16 times a day. So if you were observing the Ramadan fast in space, how would you do it? With 16 sunsets and 16 sunrises a day. So I'll leave that to the peanut gallery.
So if you guys know, put the answer in the chat. I see
Ronaldo said eat dates. Did he say that?
He said that after we were talking about it.
Okay. Well, Ronaldo, if you knew, then good for you.
And while we were waiting for those answers, we have another question from our peanut gallery. Quest asks, there is a guy here on YouTube selling slot strategies, claiming that some slots/casinos offer a taste more likely to give a win up front. Is this true, and have you ever heard of such a thing?
I've heard this rumor before. It's absolutely not true. As the rumor goes, when a new player sits down at a slot machine, it will kind of tease the player with some wins at first. And then once the player is sucked in, then it goes into takedown mode and takes as much money as possible. Absolutely not true. The chances are the same on every single spin. As I've said before, the outcome is determined by random numbers, and who is playing, how long they've been playing, why they are playing does not fit into it at all. It's all mathematical. It's all really quite simple. And furthermore, if this were true, players would have figured it out and went from machine to machine, only playing for 1 minute and then moving on to the next one. So,
good point.
Yep.
Cool. Now, we do have an answer to the trivia question.
Mm-hmm.
Ronald says the time in Mecca is
that is a good guess, but it is not the correct answer.
Not the correct one. Okay. And it probably doesn't have anything to do with James Bond. If you are in space, does the sun rise, or is it a constant, meaning it never rises or goes down? That's a good question.
That's a good point. I think that if the sun, Earth, and the space station were in a certain alignment, it could appear that the sun is rising or setting. But let's not get into that in too much detail.
So that was pretty much all of the answers that we had for that. Do you want to tell us the correct answer?
The correct answer is you go by the time for the sunrise and the sunset of wherever you left the Earth from. For example, if you left at Cape Canaveral, you would go by Florida time.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, this one is not completely Ramadan related, but during Ramadan, you're supposed to give extra to the poor or to charity. But the question is, what is the rule of thumb for giving to charity in general? For example, in Christianity, it's 10% of your income, but what is it in Islam?
You got to make it rain.
That's a good answer, but it's more there's more of a specific formula to it.
It doesn't have anything to do with making it rain? Okay. So while we were waiting for everyone to put your answers in the chat, our next question comes from I Love. What is your session's highest playing blackjack? What's your session high playing blackjack?
You know, I haven't played blackjack for significant amounts of money in a long time. And to kind of get this back to the comping issue, blackjack does not comp very well because the house advantage is kind of low. And usually when I did play table games back in the day, it was to earn a good rating, to get invited to tournaments. So my strategy was to be perceived as a profitable player, so I would get invited to free roll tournaments, which I did quite well at for a while. But to generate a good Theo, I would usually play Pai-Gow tiles, because that's a low volatility game with a slow rate of play and a fairly high Theo of about 2%. So that was a good way to generate some Theo, which means theoretical loss. But I have never really been a big blackjack, like betting a lot of money in blackjack, to be honest with you. So whatever the answer is would be nothing that would impress you.
Have you ever seen anyone bet like a really large amount in blackjack?
You know, that's the kind of thing that I wouldn't really care about. You know, I've always preached worry about your own cards, not other players. But But I mean, I've seen players betting in the low thousands, which for Vegas is not that much. You can go into the high limit rooms and see people betting $100,000 in baccarat sometimes.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. So, but you know, if the player next to me were betting, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in any game, I wouldn't really care. You know, that's not my money. That's his business, not mine. So it makes no difference to me.
Okay. On that note, when I was dealing, I didn't deal in high limit often, but I did deal in high limit once or twice. And the most money I ever had on my table playing was this guy just turned 21 and he was playing with his dad's money and he was betting $25,000 per hand and he was like tipping $5,000 per hand. So it was like 30,000. So and then, you know, he would double down and he would split and, you know, he'd split up to 4 times. And I'm just looking at that money and I'm like, oh my God, that's just, how old are you? You know, you just turned 21 and you're betting with this. Wow. Wow.
What can I say? No matter how rich I got, I wouldn't be giving my son that kind of money. There should be some respect for the money. And I'm not saying I would be stingy, but you know, I'm all in favor of giving your kids what they need, preferably a college education. But beyond that, they should be working for the luxuries.
Yeah. And like you were saying, it loses value when you just give them that much money all at once.
Absolutely. You know, I bet that kid had no respect for the money he was betting.
Yep, none. Okay, do we have any more trivia questions or should we stop that for today?
Let's ask one more. Let's see. Oh, I never answered the one about the income. So let's just cover that. Okay, so a Muslim is supposed to give to charity 2.5% of his wealth per year above some certain poverty threshold.
Okay.
So there you go. That's like the minimum.
It could be like Mormons where you're given 10% of your wealth. So
Christianity says Christianity is really quite clear that that it's 10%. And if you're not giving 10%, that it's stealing from God. And you know, I don't like to get too religious, but I think that anyone who calls themselves a Christian that isn't giving at least 10% is being a hypocrite.
There you go. Okay, so what is our next question?
Well, I see it's 4 o'clock, so shall we call it a day?
Totally up to you.
Yeah, so let's call it a day. I have a pickleball game to get to. So shall we make our next one in 2 weeks, April 22nd?
Sounds good. And if you guys are here, if we didn't get to your questions, no worries. Ask the questions on our next AMA. If you get here early, you're more likely to have your questions answered. If it's later on, then we'll try to get to your question. We might not be able to.
Yep. So thanks, Heather, for helping and putting this all on, and thank you everyone in the audience for your participation and watching and your questions. And again, I'll see you in 2 weeks, audience, and get your questions in early for your best chance of them being answered.
Yep. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.